Hello, so welcome. Previously, we looked at the second law of indices. And for the second law of indices, I told you that if you have x raised to the power of a multiplied by x raised to the power of b, okay, this is the first law. Let me just recap. It will give you x raised to the power of a plus b. That was what I said. And I also mentioned that if you have x raised to the power of a, divided by x raised to the power of b, it will give you x raised to the power of a minus b. This was what I explained in the previous video. So today I want to look at another law. I can choose to call it the third law in no particular order, please. The third law of indices, and I'll tell you for free that if you have x raised to the power of 0, the answer is 1. So any number you have raised to the power of 0, the answer is actually 1. That is number 1. Yes. So let me leave you with that. Some exercises under that. If you have, let me call this exercise 1. If you have 4 raised to the power of 0, the answer is 1. Exercise 2. If you have 2 raised to the power of 0, the answer is 1. Exercise 3. If you have 9 raised to the power of 0, the answer is 1. So if you have a scientific calculator, whatever it is, just press any number raised to the power of 0, the answer will be equal to 1. In fact, sometimes some persons may likely want to confuse you. This is a bracket. If you have 3 raised to the power of 9 times 4 raised to the power of 12, everything to the power of 0, the answer is 1. The reason is because every other expression you have is inside of the bracket and there is a 0 power outside. So going by that law of indices that says x raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1, whatever it is inside of the bracket, so remember the overall power is 0, the answer must be equal to 1. Alright, I don't think we need to spend so much time on that. Now, going by the next law of indices, we can choose to call it the fractional law. Call it the fractional law. The law says if you have x raised to the power of, let me say, a over b, x raised to the power of a over b. In this case, the power is a fraction. The exponent or the power is a fraction. This kind of expression is called a fractional law. That is when there is a fractional exponent. This law of indices that I'm about to write is called the fractional law. And what do? We say we are going to use the b root of x, everything to the power of a. Now this is how we write it. So the denominator of the fraction, remember the fraction is an exponent, the fraction is the power. The denominator of the fraction will become the root of that. And then the numerator becomes the only outstanding power. So we can take some examples on that. Exercises 1. Suppose you have 4 raised to the power of 1 over 2. Right? The answer would be the square root of 4 raised to the power of 1. Remember I told you that the denominator becomes the roots, and 2. The normal this you see is actually square roots, but then the 2 is not usually visible. By the time you start from the third root, the fourth root, the fifth root, the numbers become visible. For example, the third root of 8 is equal to 2. So you see that the 3 becomes visible. But usually, let's say the square root of 4 is 2. The 2 inside here, inside of the root, is invisible actually. So let's come back to this. 4 raised to the power of 1 over 2 will be the square root of 4 power, you see now, power 1. And so the square root of 4 is actually 2. 2 power 1 is the same thing as 2. I hope that is clear. Therefore, 4 raised to the power 1 over 2 will give you just 2. So some persons may say 4 raised to the power of 0.5 is equal to 2. 0.5 is the same thing as 1 over 2. I hope that is clear. Now, look at another example under that. Suppose you have 8 raised to the power of, let me say, 2 over 3. 8 raised to the power of 2 over 3. What would this be? Solution. This will be the third root. The third root of 8, right, into brackets, power 2 will be outside. Now, what is the third root of 8? The third root of 8 means that what is that number that if you multiply by itself 3 times, you will get 8? What is that number such that when you multiply it by itself 3 times, the result will be 8? The answer is 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 will give you 8. So the third root of 8 is 2. But don't forget, there's a power outside, right? So the final answer is 2 raised to the power of 2. If you are leaving your answer in index, this is what it will be. If you are leaving your answer in word, this is in whole number, this is what it will be. Does that look difficult? Now let us take a few composite questions. We'll take them together now. Composites or joint questions. And we're just going to be fabricating some of these questions. In fact, all the questions I'm creating now, I'm fabricating them. So I'm not using any. If you have specific questions from specific textbooks, you could snap and make them available. Or if you want, you can request my WhatsApp number. I'll make it available to you. Send me those questions that you have been battling with in class, and we shall look at them together. I will not only solve them for you, I will explain them to you. Now, suppose you have this question time, from only all the laws that we've explained. Number 1, 4 raised to the power of 3 times 2 raised to the power of 2 multiplied by 8 raised to the power of 1 over 3 all over 16 raised to the power of 1 over 2, then times let me say times 2 raised to the power of 0. Now this is a question. It looks complex, doesn't it? Solution now. How do you solve this? First of all, the smallest base is 2. So we're going to solve reducing every other thing to base 2. Let us go. 4 is the same thing as 2 raised to the power of 2. Then don't forget we have the power 3 outside. Multiply by 2 raised to the power of 2, which is this. Then multiply by 8. You can reduce 8 if we want to. That's 2 raised to the power of 3. Then power 1 over 3 is outside. Everything all over 16 can also be reduced to this 2 raised to the power of 4. 2 raised to the power of 4, right? Then we have power 1 over 2 outside, then times 2 raised to the power of 0. Now, take note of something. Here you have 2 raised to the power of 2 times 3 is 6, multiplied by 2 raised to the power of 2, multiplied by, now this is power 3 and power 1 over 3. Normally they're supposed to multiply because power multiply power. So 2 raised to the power of 3 times 1 is 3 over 3, because this is not having, this is like denominator of 1. This is 1 over 3, this is a fraction. If you make this a fraction, it has a denominator of 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 3 is 3. So that's what you have. And don't forget, 3 can cancel 3. So the denominator, the new power or exponent is just 1 all over 2 raised to the power of, this is 4. This is a fraction, fractional power. 4 times 1 is 4 over, the denominator is 2. Don't forget this one is over 1. So 2 times 1 is 2. Now multiply by 2 raised to the power of 0. Don't forget also that 2 can cancel 4. 2. 2 in 2 is 1. 2 in 4 is 2. So what do you have left? You have 2 raised to the power of 6 multiplied by 2 raised to the power of 2 times 2 raised to the power of 1 over 2 raised to the power of 2 times 2 raised to the power of 0. So if you apply the first law of indices, that says 2 raised to the power, so if you apply the first law of indices that says x raised to the power of a multiplied by x raised to the power of b is equal to x raised to the power of a plus b. So this, you will then get 2 raised to the power of 6 plus 2 plus 1. And if you apply it to the one down here, you have 2 raised to the power of 2 plus 0. And so this will give you 2 raised to the power of 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9 over 2 raised to the power of 2 plus 0 is 2. So this will eventually give you, applying the second law of indices, that says x raised to the power of a divided by x raised to the power of b is equal to x raised to the power of a minus b. If you apply it to this, okay, it will now give you, remember this, the one down is 2 raised to the power of 9. Let me just bring it up, over 2 raised to the power of 2. It will give you 2 raised to the power of 9 minus 2, and final answer will give you 2 raised to the power of 7. That will be the answer.